You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Okay, and welcome back to the Opperman Report Aftershow. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. And, we're here every Friday night. We do the Aftershow on cjmarsradio.com, and we'll take your calls if you want to call in. I prefer if you Skype in to ed.opperman. That's what we're doing this week. We had a little incident last week with the some trolls and people harassing the show and the staff and stuff like that. So we're making some changes to the call-in process. And I'm asking everybody before the show, unless you're one of the producers, like Ann or Christoph or Keith, that you refrain from contacting me before the show. Also, too, that if you're a sponsor, like Mike Gray or these New World Mexican Women or Amanda from Pacific West Bamboo, any of these people, it's okay for them to contact us too before the show. But otherwise, if you're not one of the station owners, a sponsor, or one of the staff, one of the producers, that you refrain from contacting us early on Friday afternoons because it's really getting overwhelming, the amount of people that we're reaching every week here, and it grows and grows and grows. And for instance, in the past couple of weeks, we added WTRU Radio, and they're playing a podcast right now. We're actually competing with ourselves tonight on Friday. And they're also with the Saturday morning, we picked up Penny Entertainment on Blog Talk Radio. So we got a lot of new listeners who get all excited and they say, "Hey, wait, where can we find the old archives and stuff like that?" So because these are all people that are excited about the same kind of content and the same kind of information that we all are. We love to talk about these things and to have these kind of guests on. So we all get excited, when we hear somebody else knows about, these kind of issues and things that we've been talking about here lately. So a couple of things I want to get into before we start taking calls and talking to our callers, our usual callers. They're always welcome to call in. We're going to be making some changes, too, to the way people call in so that, we can handle this a little bit better. One thing is about last week's show with Bill Scott and his son, the murder of his son, Eric Scott. It was a real special show to me because I was involved in Bill's Facebook group, and the whole thing going on with the live coverage of his son's hearing, this coroner's hearing that they had here in Nevada. And everyone saw it was such an injustice that we all really rallied around. There was even some protest marches and stuff like that. And then we had good old Mike Bluehair, who runs Film the Police Portland on Facebook. And I really liked him as well, too. So if you want to catch those shows, you can find them on Spreaker, and they'll be up on YouTube shortly. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we're coming up to the 1-year anniversary of the Opperman Report. The show started 1 year ago, September 24th, on a Thursday morning, like 11 a.m. And, man, I tell you, it was one of the most popular shows we ever did. We did a show about the West Memphis 3. And, my God, on YouTube, that show has like 30,000 hits. If you look it up, Opperman Report, Terry Hobbs, that thing just got incredible amount of traffic and incredible amount of exposure to the guests I had on the show and to that issue of these West Memphis 3, these murderers who are now walking away free even after pleading guilty. One really big announcement that I have coming up is that just recently I was invited to a closed secret Facebook group, okay? And with people that are first-hand eyewitnesses. These are people that know all kinds of stuff about the Process Church. These are people that know all kinds of stuff about the Son of Sam murders, all kinds of stuff about Charlie Manson. First-hand eyewitnesses are members of this group, participants, people that were involved in the prosecution, people that were involved in the investigation, victims. So I was invited to this group, and I devoured every line of content in this group. I spent just 3 days in a row just reading every line in there that I could read. And I have to correct some stuff that I've been saying about the Mark David Chapman assassination of John Lennon. People who have heard me talk about that, I've mentioned over and over and over again that Peter Asher, who was the brother of Jane Asher, who was Paul McCartney's girlfriend, and Peter Asher was also the manager of, who's his name, James Taylor, who was confronted by Mark David Chapman. I had always made it part of my little conspiracy theory that since Peter Asher was a member of the Process Church and that Mark David Chapman confronted James Taylor, that there might have been some connection there. I've been corrected. And I've been told that Peter Asher had no connection to the Process Church other than that the Process Church in London tried to get into his bookstore and peddle their stuff in his bookstore, and he rejected them, from what I understand. So I've been corrected on that, and that's something interesting that I want to get out there because I'm learning all new stuff about this, but we got a lot of really big guests and big shows coming up on these topics on the Son of Sam, Process Church in New York. Roy Radin. Remember we did that show about Roy Radin and the Cotton Club murder we did with Steve Wick? Okay. I got information. And remember, you might recall I said to Steve Wick, I says, hey man, that guy Ryder, boy, Larry Flint's brother-in-law, he got some deal. I found out why. I know why now he got that great deal. So I'm coming up with a lot of really, really big sources and new information. And we're going to be having new guests and stuff on the show. So I'm really, really, really excited. You have no idea. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I invited everybody I know, who's like all the big shots, man. Like we got Adam Gorightly in there. We're trying to get Paul McGann, Dave McGowan in there. So, it's a real group of real serious investigators and researchers, that we have now in this group. And we're really, really excited. Now I just pulled in good old Mike Gray from InfinityHomeplans.com and also to Christian Wallace. So Mike, welcome to the After Show. You're a welcome guest.
Hi Ed, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. And Christian, welcome to you too.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, pretty good. Okay, but he's nice and awake and here on a Friday night.
Do I sound okay?
Yeah, but he sounds good.
Okay, good.
So
that was a good show, Ed. That was a real good show.
You know what?
Well, it's not over yet, but
Yeah, I was a little worried about it, because I didn't think the people around the country would be interested in what's going on here in Clark County, Nevada family court. But from my experiences about how, I'm being raked through the coals over here, and really people, we need your support. Me and my daughter need your support. If you could just Google Help Save My Family by Ed Opperman. It's a GoFundMe.com account. We need your help. We need your support. And support people like this guy here, Paul Godet, who want to, what do you call that? What do you call that? Revamp,
Ed, can I ask you a question about it?
Yeah, shoot.
That thing? Because I put the money in to donate, and then it asked if it wanted to go in, and this will help other people if they want to go there. It asks if it wants to do it monthly. Do you get a notification when it goes in? Because I don't know if it's continually going in or if I have to redo it.
That's to my account?
The Save the Family one?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not getting any kind of monthly deal at all, man. The donations have dropped off there considerably, man.
No. Yeah. I mean, like the first time I put it in.
Yeah.
Does it send you a notification that you got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you haven't seen another one yet, but maybe I'll ask you off the air.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But it's a good topic of conversation, man, because GoFundMe, we need your help, man. So, you guys have no idea. Listen, I got to be honest with you. We had some really bad news this week, some big setbacks with all that. And it's been devastating. And
I'm going to be looking over there and trying to see if it goes through.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'll check it out. Thank you very much. GoFundMe.com. Help Save My Family by Ed Opperman. And I want to give a shout out. Both these guys, too, have donated. Mike Gray has been a big help, and Christian Wallace has been a big supporter as well. But Mike Gray even supported Jessica Styron Jacobson.
Yeah, I gave her a a little. Yeah, I gave her some money.
You know what, man? She made a nice chunk of money, man. She's only looking for $1,500. This is a beautiful woman who's a great kid. I met her. She applied for a job with me. But she has 4 kids. 3 of the most beautiful little girls you ever saw. Her son is gifted in the gifted classes at school, and she's just going through a really hard time. Practically got knocked out of her home homeless, with no furniture, no clothes for the kids. But thank God, man, there's been a lot of donations helping her out. So, guys, what's on your mind?
Are you doing all right, Ed? Because you sounded the other day, you sounded frazzled.
No, I'm not doing all right. I'm frazzled. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I got a lot of crap going on, man. I'm under attack all over the place. You guys wouldn't imagine. Some of you would imagine, but stuff you wouldn't imagine. Stuff that even man, weirdos that we gotta deal with, man. That people.
You're on the list, Ed. Don't you get it?
No, man. This is people that you would think they allegedly on our side. Okay.
Yeah.
And guys that have to be some kind of you know what? They're not even COINTEL. They're not even Asian provocateurs. These are people that are deluded by their own lies and their own fantasy, that are attacking me and my producers and other station owners here that are running our show, and just deluded nuts.
Are these other radio personalities?
Yes, other radio shows,
really,
other radio hosts, other radio stations.
Ooh,
deluded nutcases. Well, that's one of the problems and the issues that I got, Mike Ray, because I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, because we got to make some changes.
Name names.
Yeah, we got to make some changes here because I do feel stifled. That I am being, I'm unable to talk about things. I feeling uncomfortable about talking about things.
Well, you can't libel anyone, right? You can't.
No, I got no problem with that. I'm very careful. I got no problem talking about a lot of people,
Yeah.
But the thing is that just being in this business, you got to kind of play nice with the other hosts and stuff like that. But the thing is that a lot of people, and I told you this, Mike Gray, I told you it's 100 times that any skepticism you have about things you hear on the radio and things you hear, all this stuff like this, double down on your skepticism because a lot of these people are full of crap, okay?
I have a funny feeling I know who you're talking about.
Okay, well, I don't want to mention any names, okay? Because a lot of people are full of crap, okay? And I don't know, just caught up in their own delusions and their own lies and their own fantasy world, okay? And that's one issue. I was going to say something else.
You said you're tired and they're behind the scenes. Yeah, the real, what would you call it? The real soap opera stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, the more exciting stuff is kind of behind the scenes. But you know why? The thing with radio is, and I'm not talking about anyone that anyone would know. This is just like, I'll throw out some names. Like, let's say Alex Jones and William Cooper fought each other because supposedly they were in the same time slot. Michael Savage and Mark Levin fought each other in their same time slot. And the reason why I'm picking on those 4 people is because they basically talked about similar stuff.
Yeah.
And you would say, well, their backgrounds are sort of similar, their topics are sort of similar, and radio is sort of this unique medium where this phenomenon of like backbiting and infighting is what they call it, is like so prevalent. And then the second that they switch times and everything, then it's not that they become buddy-buddy, but the attacks magically sort of cease in those cases. But it's funny how these people would probably get along if they see each other as competition. And even if they're, instead of being on the same team and saying, well, and especially in this day and age, because the difference in the old days of radio, if you wanted to listen to somebody's show, if you didn't catch it at 9 o'clock and someone else was on at 9 o'clock, you would have to listen to one or the other. But now that there's internet, you can go back and you can listen to, you can always listen to a podcast of a show and listen to the show you like more live. So there's plenty of room for everyone. And it seems like with radio, it's like the claws come out and people they really genuinely start to dislike each other. And it's a shame because, the information, if it's as important as they put forward, they should realize that this is what's more important, not the cult of personality, not the the who gets the higher ratings, who has more Twitter followers, who has this, that, and the other. The information and the getting that out should be the most important thing, and instead they're worried about personally attacking each other. I mean, saying this person's a big fat fool, or this one's an old man. You know what I mean? Like they make personal attacks against
personal attacks. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's reprehensible, and it's sophomoric, and it's stupid, and it's just like I said. There's the way that everything is structured and formatted now. There's more than enough room for a whole wide and diverse range. This is worldwide. We're talking about worldwide audiences. So, and then one other thing I just want to say, because I'm doing the GoFundMe thing.
Yeah.
I don't think the only thing I don't like is when people beat around the bush. Ed works hard. This is a job doing this. This is hard. I sweat every week worrying about doing a good show, having a good guest, making prescient comments that will have some bearing on people's lives. And I want it to be as good as it can be. And it's hard work. And the cost of my research, the cost of my time, if nothing else, is money. So I'm providing a service, and that's sufficient enough. If you want to be nice, and some people will say, "Oh, well, it's my ministry," and they kind of like incorporate it and use that as a way to ask. And I'm not knocking the way you ask it. You have a very noble reason to ask. It's about saving your family. I mean that's very laudable. But there's no shame in asking people for money because of a service rendered. That's what you're doing, and that's just fair. So I mean that's all I got to say, Frank. Let me finish the donation thing.
Well, the thing is too is I would prefer to have sponsors. I would prefer to give back. Have people sponsor the show. And it is a freaking bargain, man. I'm telling you, we got a lot more listeners listening to this, even right now, even just YouTube and just Spreaker. Okay, we got more people listening to that than half of these podcasts out there. I'd say that right now. And then when you start adding all these different radio stations, all 3 times a night, 4 times, the ad, getting your ad right on the ad, you're reaching a lot of people. There's a real value in that. And I guarantee if people would contact me at oppermanreport@gmail.com, they would find that those ad rates are a lot cheaper than they think. It's peanuts, guys. It's like nothing, okay? And you would reach a lot of people. Another thing, too, I want to get into here with people, just a little homework kind of stuff, okay? An issue I got is, if you want to contact me about the radio show, the email address is oppermanreport@gmail.com, and you talk to me about the radio show. Now, if you want to contact me about PI work or something like that, you can contact me at emailrevealer@AOL.com or oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. At those emails, because if you contact me about some personal investigation at the radio show email address, other people read that. Ann reads it, Christoph reads it. So you don't want to send me personal stuff on oppermanreport@gmail.com. PI stuff is oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com, okay? Now let's keep it at that. So those are a couple of things. But Christian, you talk about how hosts and stuff like that are in competition with each other. I have no problem, man, being in competition with anybody. I don't care who's out there. My problem is when I know that there's other hosts and other stations and other shows out there that are completely making up bull crap and putting it on the air, man. There's a lot of people out there just in a fantasy land, okay, with no credibility whatsoever, just making up stories and putting it out on the air. And I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about not being able to say to people, it was stuff I know for a fact.
Well, who did this? I haven't heard anything. I mean,
I'll tell you off the air. Okay.
Oh,
okay, I see what you're saying. Well, no, when it comes to rumoring and, that's all the more reason why people should support the shows where, that they like, where people are actually researching and putting out documented facts as opposed to people that are spreading falsehoods and rumors, because then that discredits other people. So, you're totally. I guess I need to do a little catch up with you, and find out. But no, that's a whole different.
Well, I can tell both of you guys that there have been instances where people that are complete hoaxers have come out, complete hoaxing BS sources come out, and I would contact other hosts and say, hey guys, look, I contacted this guy, I've researched him, I've investigated him, he's full of crap, he's fake, he's making this up. Look, I confronted him. Here's the email where he admits to me that he's a fake and he's a fraud. Okay? And they put him on anyway. All right? That's what I'm talking about. All right? So, that's a whole, and I'm sitting on all this stuff here, and I got to keep my mouth shut, because, otherwise there's all this behind the scenes crap goes on. So we got to figure out how we can give this show more freedom, and that we don't have to sit here talking right now, beating around the bush, and we can talk about what we're thinking. Oh, look at that. Give me a thumbs up over there.
I just sent the donation. No, what I was going to say, because I was half listening because I was trying to type in my credit card info.
Yeah.
But what you were saying was they came to you off air and said, I'm making this stuff up. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I've caught people red-handed pulling hoaxes. Okay? And also, too, it's not just that I've caught people red-handed making hoaxes where they sent me an email admitting they were hoaxing. But,
were they laughing?
Do the other radio talents, do they ask you to investigate these guests before?
No, are you kidding me? Because half of these people are in on it.
Oh, okay.
That's my point. You know? And that's what I'm trying to say, man, is that there's a lot of crap out there that gets peddled around here that's total BS that they know is BS.
The ones that are BSers, they'll get weeded out. You know what I mean?
No, they won't, man. These are the ones making the most money. Right?
How about this? Because the chat room is curious. Not naming any names, but is it the kind of stuff that you can't really, is it the kind of stuff that would really stick out like a sore thumb, or is it the kind of stuff that's more like disinfo, where they give like some truth and then they pepper it with...
No, 100% hoaxes. People making it up from the minute they wake up in the morning, they're making up their story, okay? And from the minute they go to bed, and the people who are putting them on their shows and putting them on their conferences know 100% it's all crap.
Well, then we have to have discernment from, who we listen to and, really not just, there's two things in radio that I've noticed is happening too, and I was thinking of this as a topic for my show, is there's this thing that there's three pretty much hallmarks of a cult. And number one is, the cult of personality. Number two is they're always asking you for money. And number three is this defooing or, separating you from your family. And, if ever you follow a person, it doesn't ever necessarily have to be a cult, but it can be sort of cultish behavior. What happens is that some people start to become a cult of personality, and it's like they follow whatever the person says. And whatever they say is gospel, and they don't bother to research what they say. They like how it's presented. They kind of like the person, and they project all of these kinds of, positive attributes onto the person because, I don't know, maybe they have issues or daddy issues or mommy issues. Yeah.
What's the first thing whenever someone starts to make it big in music or being an actor? Is the management will always try to separate that person from their friends and family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're losers, they're holding you back, because they want to just have their way with them,
Right.
Well, another thing too is because I'm always warning you, Mike, especially that when you hear these shows and you hear these guests, I'm telling you to double down on your skepticism. I can tell you, man, that a lot of these hosts and stuff you hear talking about. Oh, I get these back channel sources. Oh, I got these whistleblowers. Oh, I got these ex-FBI, ex-CIA, ex-DOD. Those same people, okay, these same sources contact me, and they tell me, I'm the one that talks to the so-and-so. I talk to these people in 5 minutes, man. They're full of it. They're full of crap. Okay, man? I can like that, man. I spot their crap.
On that same note,
yeah,
I never do that. Because I'm actually being ostracized from my family for talking at all about certain things, but I never fall back on that sort of stuff. And I would my admonishment would be, do your own research. Don't even trust me. And in fact, call me out if I say something that sounds a little dubious or whatever.
Yeah.
Check me and tell me, and then that's how we learn. And I'm not too big to go back and then re-examine my position on a thing. Like, I feel bad that I was speaking out a little bit. I think it was when the president was doing the ISIS thing on September 10th, and Mike was on the show, and we were somehow I branched off into the Mike Brown case. And, I totally sort of got caught up in the moment and was saying, acting kind of like an authority on it where, I don't know what occurred there. I was trying to make a larger point and sort of contextualize it. And if people tuned out at the beginning, they might not have heard Mike at the end of the show sort of brought that topic back up. And then I tried to go back and clarify what I was, the point I was trying to make. But what I'm saying is that we all can sort of be guilty that sometimes we spout off a little bit and we don't have all of the facts, and with TV and with news especially back in 91 I think it was, CNN got caught faking that famous Iraq footage. They weren't really there, and it's like you can't watch the news and take anything that they say as gospel 100%, because if they fake one story, you think that they fake some stories and don't fake others, or, they definitely spin everything. So if they faked one story, what's to say that, they don't fake them all, or at the very least spin them all? So I just think people need to be, like I said, have more discernment, and really, even us, especially us, need to be held to that standard as well. And, like I said, check us on it. Check the facts and do your own research. But at the same time, it doesn't excuse people from just flat out making stuff up and then laughing behind the scenes that they're doing it.
Yeah, like I said before, I was totally wrong about Peter Asher and James Taylor. Yeah, I've been saying that, I've been repeating that story for years. And I just found out from some people firsthand, I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, let me know. What difference does it make if I'm wrong, It
doesn't matter if you're wrong, it just matters if you don't admit it. If you
there you go, yeah.
Right. So we're human. We're gonna mess up sometimes.
Yeah.
So just bear that in mind. But what the difference between us and some of these other people is, we'll admit it, and they, are laughing at you. And like I said, I don't know the whole story. I'll find out after. But yeah, so I'm curious too. I'm interested as well as the people in the chat room.
There will be an after show.
yeah, I know. Well, we gotta start taping those too. Then after I'm dead, man, you guys can play all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
That's the real gold. Oh boy. So what do you think, man, guys?
We'll have to go back and edit your foul language. That gets really nasty behind the scenes.
Right.
And if that guy wins, I'm sorry.
No, I'm joking. Go ahead, Mike.
If that guy wins as a judge, will he be able to help you with your case, or pull any strings?
Well, what do you think, Mike?
Did they replace that judge? Your judge?
No, I lost that.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding you.
What about the shrink? We're
working on that still. There's still hope with that. We had the hearing was last Friday, so we're waiting to hear, and I'm working on that too. But as far as the writ goes, it was a total colossal failure in every possible way. It was filed incorrectly. It was a disaster. And what I'm telling you guys is, if I had a client who was coming to me with this kind of stuff here, I could get them through it. I know I could. But because I'm so closely involved in the case, I'm losing and failing at this thing miserably.
Well, your daughter, she's 14. She'll be 15 when?
No, we can get into that. She's 14 November, but that's the problem, is that this judge isn't taking into consideration. This judge won't listen to my daughter's preference. That's why we did the writ. But the writ was freaking all done wrong, man, and it cost me a ton of money.
You know what's funny is like your daughter is so articulate.
I know.
And how many kids her age have a radio show?
Only the ones that know me.
Yeah, right? I mean, so she's like a shining star.
I know, man.
I mean, it's crazy.
It is crazy. But a lot of stuff that happens in my life is crazy.
You said your parents were crazy. Is that true? Or
No, I was just joking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, were your parents, just for a little behind the scenes, you don't have to go into great detail, but what were Ed Opperman's parents like? Did they espouse the same sort of views?
Oh, no, now they do. Let me tell you about my parents, okay? My mother was born in Cuba, and both my brothers were born in Cuba, my half-brothers. And my mother got married at, I think, 14 years old, and she had the first baby at 16, the second baby at 18. It's crazy. They lived on farms there in Cuba, gave my mother to the neighbors, So when the Cuban Revolution happened in '59, my uncles and stuff fought against Castro in Oriente, Cuba, which was the first province he took over. And, but anyway, so all my uncles were anti-Castro, capitalists, I guess you call them. So anyway, so my first uncle Orestes came here to the United States, and he brought the whole family over. And my father was this white Irish Catholic German accountant, who met my mom, and because my mom got divorced from that crazy guy in Cuba, and raised us all. But my father was a right wing. Forget it, man. He was so right wing. But after I got saved, after I gave my life to the Lord Jesus Christ, both my parents, everyone who saw me get saved, everyone said, everyone said something's going on here. Because when they saw the old Ed to the new Ed, they said, "Oh, something's up." So everybody wanted to see. Oh, you have no idea, guys. I got tape recordings of that stuff. But the thing is, when they saw the change in me, my parents got saved. All my ex-girlfriends got saved. So my father, who was a right-wing Republican his whole life, is now more in.
Like a moderate.
Oh, he's in tune with my politics, man.
Ah. Where do your parents live, Ed? Are they?
They're down in Florida, near you.
That's right.
Yeah, my dad drives by your place all the time, man. Check it out.
By Kissimmee? Get out of here.
No, I got my dad keeping an eye on you.
Okay.
No, but my parents were really cool people. My mother was a saint like everybody's mother is, But
they're still alive.
Oh yeah, my mother has dementia, so she's in a nursing home right now. She broke her hip. But my dad is an incredible guy. I got to tell you stories. My dad, we would be riding the subway, me and my dad together, and he would see a fight on the other end of the subway. He'd run over there and break up the fight and start yelling at them. "Sit down, behave yourself." My dad was a real character, man, But I'll tell you something else. My dad, man, he would, we would have dinner, he would cut the fat off all of our steaks. He'd eat the plate of fat and give us all the steak.
I hear that's like the best part, though.
You think so?
It is. You shouldn't eat. I don't know if you should eat it, but it's delicious,
Sounds like my dad. All he does is grill every night. The guy's a doctor, and he chain smokes, has a vodka martini, like every night, at least one or two, and, smokes and eats and grills every night. And you'd think you'd know better.
Well, I don't smoke.
Anymore.
No, me neither.
I quit smoking, yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting. I always wondered. So your parents were you were raised Catholic?
Yeah, I was raised.
Yeah, I was too. I was too.
Opperman's Irish?
No, Opperman is German Lutheran.
Okay. You said okay.
No, my father was Irish Catholic German.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever go and visit? Did you ever go to Germany?
No.
No. Did you ever want to? No.
Yeah, me neither.
It's actually pretty beautiful. There's some beautiful castles there. No, like really beautiful castles. Like a lot of people don't realize it. Some of the just the landscape, the way some of the farms, some of the hills. I mean, there's just really you'd think it looks a lot like Spain, and I mean, it's a nice place to go and see for the historical stuff. And, you can check out some of the more infamous places, like the camps and things. But, there's a lot more and a much richer history than just all that. There's a lot of stuff that happened pre-World War II and World War I in Germany that, goes back very far. And it's not some place to cross off your list for any.
I've been to Spain. I ran with the Bulls in Pamplona.
Oh, that's right.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. No, I've had a life, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. I know.
Wow.
Just do a little quick rundown of what that's like. Were you at the front or were you at the back?
Well, what you got to do is you got to map out your course, because what happens is it's really early in the morning. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning where you go run with the Bulls, and the streets. It's the old part of town. They call it the old part, and it's all cobblestone type streets. So at the night, everyone's walking up. They have marching bands, and you're dancing up and down the streets all night long, drinking really great wine, man, really cheap. You get really good wine and beer, and so there's like all urine and vomit and beer and wine all over the streets. So you got to map
like
out.
my house on a Friday night.
What's that?
Sounds like my house on a Friday night.
Yeah, right. So you got to map out your course because there's certain spots where every year where the Bulls have to make these really sharp turns where they go sliding around and all this stuff, and then crash into people. And that's where the trouble is. So if you plan it out and you map it out, you could do your little, your run, get a picture taken, next to a bull. And these bulls, man, these things are huge, man, and they're just kind of trotting along. They're not even at full speed, man, and they're like going faster than a car. But
how long is the race? How long is the?
Well, it's a long route, I guess, a couple of miles or whatever. But the thing is, you can't run the whole way. You can only run like a short part next to these bulls. So one of the first times I did it, I got pictures too up on my Facebook, where there was this big. I think it was a green door or a red door. I think it was a green door where you go into the bullfighting arena because after they run the bulls into the arena, they put they pen the bulls right away and they let out little goats and stuff like that and you can play bullfight with the goats and things, So everybody tries to get in there to get into to play bullfight. So I'm running down toward these big giant doors, right? And there's like 2 or 3 guys in front of me and they're closing the doors on us. So the guys on the other side of the door are these guys, they're farmers and they're bull handlers, man. These are big, tough, strong guys, man. Forget it. This is when I was young and strong. So I come running down as fast as I can. I hit this door as hard as I can. I don't budge it a freaking inch. But there's a guy with us who's half inside and half outside the door. So we all kind of motion to each other in our different languages, and say, okay, we'll stop pushing, let this guy out the door, So they ease up on the door and he tries to lunge in. They push the door back. They break his leg in the door.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
Right in front of me. But the thing is the way it is, the machismo over there is you can't help the guy off the ground. You have to walk away. My friend broke his leg. Okay, goodbye. Yeah, and it's just I gotta write a book about that, man. It's a fascinating, and it's not the same way as it was back in those days either. Now it's all like MTV and Mardi Gras and stuff like that. But just a beautiful town. Pamplona is a beautiful town with beautiful women, parks and gardens everywhere. The streets are clean. The phone booths are washed down every day. It's not like living here in America at all.
Sponsors, are you hearing this?
Yeah.
Ed is giving you a ringing endorsement.
Yep.
Just don't your leg. Leave me. Go. Save yourselves.
Go to beautiful Spain.
Yeah, I was gonna stay there, man. I thought of staying there. I really enjoyed my time in Spain.
Even Cuba's pretty beautiful. I know a lot of Cubans because I was born in Miami, so I'm kind of honorary.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, I remember, I think it was my grandmother and my grandpa, because, they're Sicilian and they were down there for reasons of whatever, vacation, because, Havana was a big, anybody who's seen The Godfather, which was a part 2, and it was a big draw for people to go and visit, and they had casinos and whatnot. And they were there when they when the government was getting the coup, was going on, and they kind of hurried them along to sort of get out of there. But they saw all the armed insurgents or rebels or whoever. I got to get the story straight of what exactly happened, but it was one of those Forrest Gump type moments where it was like one of those historical moments, and they just sort of were caught in the middle, unbeknownst to them, and then they found out after they departed. But then there's a huge Cuban population in South Florida, and I think you know this, Mike.
Yes,
being
sir.
a Floridian, so you know what the makeup is of Florida. Florida is so diverse, and Miami's South Beach, Miami in particular, Art Deco district. It's a big draw for celebrities. There's a place called Star Island. Whenever you see a movie, you'll always see that same road that goes from Bayside, which is like this mall, and American Airlines Arena. There's this one strip of highway that goes over the water, and it's like this inlet. And then if you take that road and you head, I think you'd be heading east, you'll see one little road that leads out to this island, this lonely island by itself. And there are all these massive houses on it, and that's Star Island. And Sylvester Stallone, Jennifer Lopez, Madonna at one time, Rosie O'Donnell, all kinds of different celebrities and stuff. They live in there. But I always laugh because whenever I see, there's a movie called Miami Blues, and, they always show that same road, whenever they want to show Miami. They always show that one, that one street. And it's nice. It's nice to visit. It's nice to come and see.
Yeah, it's like Vegas too. They always show the same spot,
Yeah.
And it's messed up too, because they'll show, this guy, first he's driving down, near Bellagio, then suddenly he's downtown, Right. People, from out of town, they don't know what's going on.
There was only one movie that portrayed it the right way. They were making fun of the movie Swingers with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau, and how they see the lights of the city in Vegas, and I guess they're on Ocean's 11, that one road coming in or whatever. I don't know the road, but they're coming in and they see it in a distance, and then, like you said, all of a sudden they're downtown. Yeah. There was one movie, I think it was Knocked Up, maybe, and the two of them are driving towards there, and they're like, Vegas, baby, Vegas, and then 3 hours later they're still on that road, and they haven't gotten there yet. So yeah, you're right. They always do that.
There's still a lot of old casinos from the '60s that are still in business. When I went to Vegas.
Yeah, the big
in a rundown kind of part of town, It's not
downtown.
Yeah, it's when you think of Vegas, you think glitz and glamour, and that's like the old Vegas, from probably the '60s and '70s.
From Casino, like the movie.
Yeah, like in the TV show Casino, which I used to watch. Yeah.
Oh, you mean Crime Story?
No. Remember Robert? What was it?
Yeah, Robert De Niro.
Show.
That wasn't a show. It was a movie.
No, there was a show called. Wasn't there a show called with Robert?
Yeah, they did a show with James Caan.
James Caan. Yeah.
I think Josh Duhamel was on it too. But no, there's both. Yeah, they at the end of the movie they show all the controlled demolitions of the different old casinos, and he says, nowadays room service takes forever. In the old days, the blackjack dealers knew your name and what you drank and everything, and now it's like Disney World for adults. And what are the famous hotels? The Mirage, the Bellagio,
the Frontier. Yeah. Oh, now you mean Hey, well, I had Frank Collada on my show, who was part of the Hole in Wall gang.
That was a great. That was a great interview.
Well, you got to look at the old. There was a TV show called Crime Story. With the oh man,
Dennis Franz.
Yeah, right. Dennis Farina. Yeah.
Oh, Dennis Farina. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah. And all that, because what's his name talks about it, and all that stuff was really going on here at the same time that TV show was going on. And one interesting thing, if you look at it, is that Mayor Oscar Goodman, in that TV series was portrayed as a guy who was a government informant. He was a federal informant working undercover, you know? And when you listen to the whole thing, Frank Collado, who kind of skated away from a lot of stuff, he wouldn't criticize, Oscar Goodman was his lawyer. And he wouldn't criticize Oscar Goodman at all. There's a lot, what a funny thing too is, a lot of stuff, man. But a funny thing too is, after I did that show, I was really excited about it, so I was talking about it to a lot of people out here. Everybody knows Frank Collada. One woman was an FBI agent, and she knew Frank Collada. She goes, "Oh yeah, we know Frank Collada." And then another woman who was the coach of the basketball team, and she goes, "Oh yeah, we know Frank Collada." Like everybody knew this guy.
You have to wonder, like, that guy, he's killed people.
Yeah.
Right? And like in the back of your mind, talking to him, let's say if you're face to face with him, in the back of your mind, this guy's killed people, Yeah. Like for a living.
Well, if you notice, there's a lot of things I don't bring up when I'm talking to him.
Yeah.
But
you don't want him visiting you,
Look at Chip Tatum, I'm on FirehorseRadio.com on Wednesday nights. Chip Tatum was one of the owner of the station, was one of the Iran-Contra smugglers.
Right.
I keep hearing about this guy. I've never heard. I keep hearing Chip Tatum, and I got to listen to him.
Yeah, he's a lot of interesting stuff, but he was one of the...
He kind of got conscripted into it, he says, when he tells his story. He kind of makes it like, well, this is an old one. When I think there's an interview he did back with Gunderson before he died, and he was sort of saying how he was, sort of pushed into that whole thing. But people can go and research that themselves because, like I said, I don't know the whole story. I don't remember it. I saw it a while back, and I think Chip's still alive, but Ted is.
Yeah, Ted's dead. But no, Chip runs Firehorse Radio. I'm on his station.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a radio show, yeah.
Yeah, no, he has great credibility, and his story is very interesting. And
an interesting thing about Chip Tatum is, he's been gone out of the United States for like the last 10 years or so. Mm-hmm. And an interesting place he found to stay was Venezuela.
Yeah.
Beautiful country. I mean,
Yeah, I know. But here's a guy who fought for the Contras, in Nicaragua, and somehow found his way into Venezuela, and then suddenly the president of Venezuela dies. You kind of wonder, if you want to put the dots together, what went on there. So I want to get Gene. Me and Gene get along very well, by the way. Up until now. But we get along really good. I want to interview him and talk to him about some stuff. He has a lot of interesting sources and information. And he carries our show, and I like him. I got no problem with him.
Do you think that the government gave all the leaders of South America cancer at once? Because Chavez had cancer, and it took him. And the president of Brazil, the female, and Argentina.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? They all had cancer, just like in...
Castro, too.
Yeah, that's right. Castro, too, yeah.
Oh, it's just a coincidence. Nothing.
We got somebody calling us from 714. Who could that be?
It ain't me.
All right, let's give him a try. 714, who are you?
Is that me?
John calling from Anaheim.
Who are you?
This is John calling from Anaheim.
And who are you calling for?
Is this Revolution Radio?
It's the Opperman Report, the Aftershow.
You're on the air.
Who are you trying to talk to?
Is Wendy on tonight?
Wendy! There ain't no Wendy here. No, Ann will take care of that, okay? Just call back in a few minutes. Now, it's a different radio show.
Oh, okay.
But you're on the air if you want to say anything.
Yeah, you're on the air.
Oh, okay. Is this Richard?
Well, what number did you call? Did you call the station? Because I have a feeling that the phones are still being forwarded to us.
Well, why would they be forwarded, period?
Well, I called 347-688-2902.
Yeah, that's the station number. Because, okay, I'll let them know that we still have the numbers. And I will just call back in 5 minutes. And I'll
Okay.
let them know to take us off. Okay, thank you.
Now, you might have a more interesting topic for me to discuss. I just don't know what your
Sir, do you have
topic-
deep pockets?
No, actually, no. Listen, yeah, we've been talking about what's behind her back.
Unfortunately, I don't. So I guess
All right.
I'm going to shortchange you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your consideration.
Down and out.
Okay, have a good night. Yeah. Niagara Falls. Okay.
Live radio.
You never know. He could have. He could have had.
Could have been a billionaire for crying out loud.
Yeah. See, there you go, shooting yourself in the foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which Ed has actually done on, if you go type into YouTube, you'll see. He's the Uzi instructor.
Hey, now, do you think that was real? People were saying that was fake.
I don't think so.
Oh,
I gotta look at it again.
People were saying that was an airsoft gun and that it was all another put on by the government to.
I'll send you a link where they have stuff beyond green screen. Me and Mike were talking about this on, I think, my last show, about why they switched to digital so they could manipulate things in real time. Forget the fake backgrounds. They have fake people. I'll find the link to them. And they take a real actress from the Young and the Restless, and she's talking about this company for the whole interview, and then all of a sudden, at the end, they start to let you in and they show you that she's not real. And the whole time you think that she's been doing this interview. It's I guess, I don't know, it's some new kind of technology. I'll paste the link into the description. You guys can see what you like. But they have a bunch of YouTube, there's like these fake news, they're not fake news stories. They're news stories and they cover strange. Like one was, girl takes selfie right before her dies a month before wedding, gets in a car accident. And what they do is then they show you a CGI, like a computer animated version of the story. And, they take all these really crazy stories like this. There were these two girls driving supposedly behind a semi. And, this girl was taking selfies with her friend and her friend wasn't paying attention. And they went to go past the semi. And then, boom, it was a 2-lane road. They hit a car in front of them, and supposedly she died a month before her wedding. And they have stories like that where they're not on the news. One was about 2 kids that tried to rob a pawn shop, and the dealer pulled out a gun. But then there are these weird little things that are like in the story where the kid is trying to jump the counter, and it's like fake, like he's not interacting with the environment around him. And it seems like they're testing, the equipment. You'll have to see one of the stories to get what I'm talking about.
Did you see that thing where Obama reads something at the podium and then he leaves? He was supposedly ticked off, and then he kicks the door open.
Yeah, that was right. And
that was all fake, and that looks so real.
Right.
It's like, wow,
trust. Yeah.
You really can't believe your eyes anymore.
No.
Especially with the hologram technology that they have.
And they purposely refrained from using it in like you see these video games that are so realistic, but they still make them more like cartoonish looking. And you say, well, they have better technology. They can make the people look more realistic. They purposely sort of hold it back so that you don't realize what the state of the art is.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, one thing I want to add to this is that, Mike, you sent me a YouTube about Gabby Giffords, right? And about how she had an alias. See, and the thing is, that's one of the things you see on YouTube a lot, okay, is that they're using these databases and they see that someone has an alias, okay? But doesn't mean it's a real alias or a different person. If you co-sign on a loan for somebody, or even if you mistakenly, invert some numbers in your social security number with what I'm putting down on an application, that'll show up as an AKA. Okay, in those reports.
Right.
So yeah, that's not something I would be concerned about at all. And it's a perfect example of some of these YouTube investigators who really have no clue what they're talking about. When they find, it's an AKA, blah, 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 something. That's really nothing. And that's stuff you see every single day, man. When you're searching people and trying to locate people, you see that crap in there all the time. It's just all garbage.
But Ed, I have the courage. The courage.
Oh my God.
She says courage, but then she could say courageous.
No, wait, no, I'm not arguing with the rest.
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Story. Yeah, but I'm just saying that one part of it is
right,
right. Hey, we're coming down to the last 5 minutes of WTRU.com, okay? Because they only do 90 minutes of our show. But we can go on after we're going to take a little break here at the top of the hour. And then we'll come back. We can go on some more, and then we'll do some after show gossiping like we always do. But
it's not as bad as it sounds, folks.
No,
it's strategic.
Yeah, right.
And we keep it G-rated. We don't.
It's pretty bad.
G-rated.
But I just want to welcome all the new people at WTRUradio.com. And I know you guys, I'm hearing from you, so I know you guys are enjoying what you're hearing. So we got a lot of, check out the archives at Spreaker.com and the Opperman Report YouTube channel. You can see all the old shows. And we're going to try and do a 90-minute show for you every week. And we got a lot of big guests coming up for you. We got Ward Churchill coming up, who is the professor there in Colorado. Who was attacked over his September 11th conclusions. Danny Sheehan. This is a really big guest, okay, we have coming up. He's a civil rights attorney. He's been involved in a lot of stuff, a lot of Native American rights cases, but also stuff going way back to Watergate. And even that shooting, I don't know if you guys remember that shooting with I'd have to find all the details on it, but it was this big shooting back in 1979. Where these leftists were protesting and the Klan showed up and they got into a big shootout, and the police covered it all up because it was a total police setup, and he filed a lawsuit against that. And who's that woman? The coal miner's daughter, that big case.
Loretta Lynn?
No, the one with the movie with
where they made the movie with
Karen Silkwood. Yeah, he was involved in that lawsuit as well.
The guy who played Woody Harrelson.
Really?
Yeah, Woody Harrelson played him in the movie, I guess.
Woody Harrelson is in Silkwood?
He was the lawyer. Unless they made another movie.
It's a different one, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, listen, we're going to take a break now. We're going to say goodnight to WTRUradio.com. Thank you for having us on. We'll see you next week. We got a lot of big shows coming up. Bobby Seale. By the way, WTRU Radio is a totally right-wing station, man. Yeah, this is mainstream. We got a lot of mainstream stations right now. WTRU Radio is totally mainstream. And Blog Talk Radio, Penny Entertainment, these are totally mainstream radio stations, man. It's none of this UFOs or New Age stuff at all. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week, and we'll take a little break for about 5 minutes. Cindy's going to play some music for us, and we'll be back right after that with even more After Show.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, it never ends. The After Show never ends. 24 hours After Show.
Breaking the law.
Breaking the law. Breaking the law. And welcome back to the Opperman Report After Show, the second part of the After Show. This is where we are just live on CJMarsRadio.com. Cindy Jean-Pierre is our boss here.
Illustrious host. Illustrious, yes. And
our illustrious guest, we have illustrious guests. What does even illustrious means? We don't even know. But we're here with Mike Gray from InfinityHomeplans.com and Christian Wallace, who has his own show, by the way, on CJMarsRadio.com. Called Infornation.
Mm-hmm.
On Wednesday nights at 6 p.m.
Last week's show was great.
Oh, Tuesdays at 9. Yeah, 6 your time, 9 Eastern.
Okay, so Chris, who do you have coming up?
This week, you know what? It's going to be a grab bag. I think that, you know what? They'll have to stay tuned to find out. It's not definite yet, so we'll see. But it'll be a good show either way. It'll be a good show.
Yeah, no matter who shows up, it's a good show, right?
Yeah.
How about coming up? You have any guests coming up?
In the future, I'm going to try to get the Collins brothers on, but it's hard because they're brothers, so they have to sort of, both free up the time. And for some reason, everybody lives on the other coast, one that's adjacent to mine. No one seems to live on this side. and it always kind of throws people a little bit. So, working that out is always a little daunting, but they come around.
Who are the Collins brothers?
They wrote a book called The Ascendancy of the Scientific Dictatorship back in I believe it was '06, and then they kind of, went off the map a little bit, and they wrote for different magazines and things, but they didn't do as many interviews. And then just recently, I think they did a revised version of the book, and they're twin brothers, and they really smart. They remind me of the Wachowski brothers, the way they talk. They talk kind of like the guys in the Matrix do. And they came back for the revised edition, and I think they started to do interviews again to sort of promote it. And it's a really good book, and they give really good interviews. They know a lot about religion and philosophy and things, and then how it all related to Huxley and that movement with around the turn of the century, the whole eugenics stuff.
Sure. And
they got a whole wealth of knowledge. They're not boring. If anything, you need like a 4-hour show to really get into all the stuff that they cover.
Yeah, some of these guests, you do need more time, but then again, you get tired after 4 hours, we really need to have a setup where we could be interviewing people, and edit stuff out, and pre-produce it. Really good production quality. Cindy wants to know if we're taking calls. We'll take calls, Cindy, if anybody wants to take a call. And just Skype us at ed.opperman.com.
Yes, save us for ourselves in case we say anything embarrassing.
Yeah.
Call in. We won't bite, like that last guy that called in by accident. We were willing to even take him.
Well, I actually hung up on someone who was just calling a minute ago because I thought it was another wrong number.
Oh. Call back. You're welcome to call back.
Well.
Or not.
We had some calls during the our guest who's a real lawyer who's running for a real position for judge. Earlier in the show tonight.
It wasn't travesty, was it?
What's that?
It wasn't travesty, was it?
It might have been, because people were asking stuff about the sovereign this and common law. Oh my God, and.
Oh, does Steve Travesty still call into you?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's blocked. Okay. He's calling it all the time, Oh God. Yeah.
I don't have anything personal against him. I think he's cultivated. He actually has a really good radio voice.
Yeah, I did a show, man. He interviewed me. I think before I had my show on that station. Mm-hmm. Fascinating guy. Oh boy. So, let's think.
Well, Scotland voted no. Can you believe it? They could have been rid of.
Yeah, 55 to 45.
Oh.
I'm a proper Scotsman.
They could have been rid of those buggers,
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
I don't do a Scottish accent, but I don't think I believe it.
The whole joke is the Scottish guy, arrives on shore and he says, "If there's a government here assembled, I'm against it."
Yeah, right.
They I don't know if that was a rigged vote or, I'll have to look more into that. Yeah. I just saw it as a headline.
Of course it was, yeah. They fixed it. They rigged it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Queen saying, think carefully about this, that witch.
Right.
I
said, I got to look more into that. I just saw the results of it, on a crawl on the news, earlier today. I mean,
Scotland has all the oil. They've got all those enormous oil reserves. So, they could make a ton of money. That's crazy.
And, oh man, that just.
Hey, what about all that stuff about the Queen sitting on that? When the Queen's throne is on the.
Oh, the Ben stone.
Yeah, right. What the hell is all that about?
Have you ever seen that? Because in the behind the scenes, like the mystery schools thing, they call her the Queen of Babylon, and she is actually, if you go and you watch the coronation of her, and you see the hat and the crown and the different tiers and everything and the different jewels that are inside of all of it, there's a whole wealth of symbolic, information you can get from just watching that whole, ceremony, and how they think they give her the scepter and everything, and what it all means.
Yeah, right.
For, and then there was some issue with the princes, with Harry, and you can see the results of the inbreeding are taking their toll. By William is already like completely bald, and what is he? 30, whatever. And, his brother looks nothing like him. His brother's constantly in trouble, Harry. And they just, I don't know, they just rub me the wrong way. I don't like them. I don't have that romantic idea of the royals like people do.
Did you see when he was in Vegas, right? There were pictures of him. They had like a naked party where they were playing pool.
Right.
And he from behind this girl, while standing up, he was having sex with her.
Yeah, I heard he was. Yeah.
Okay, now a photographer caught that. Okay, and there are pictures of it on the web.
Mm-hmm.
The girl that he did that to was like a model, a British model. They arrested her. Did you hear about that?
They arrested her on what?
They arrested her. I don't know. About a week after she gets back to England, they arrested her.
Wow. Yeah, he is always getting into trouble, or they get a picture of him and he's doing snorts of vodka. Now, I didn't even know people snorted vodka. And it seems like every once in a while he gets in trouble, it gets public, like that incident, and then he sort of has to do his penance, and then they have him do something with the military to sort of like, rehabilitate his image.
Plus he goes to parties wearing Nazi
I know, that's what's
famous.
I wasn't gonna say, but I was, yep. Mm-hmm. Well, they're giving homage to their ancestors, because they really are German, and that whole thing, they kind of hide their ancestry.
Yeah, Ann was just saying in the chat room that nurse who took the prank phone call from the Queen, that she committed suicide.
That's right. That's right. That's
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And there was a dead body of a woman that was found on Buckingham.
What happened was, this is scary, because let me just elaborate on that for a second. She called and said, "Can I speak to she had just given birth, Kate, and they put her through by accident."
Yeah.
Kate Middleton. And then all of a sudden she was suicided after that. All because she put a phone call through.
Well, I did that show about Seville, Jimmy Seville.
Oh God! And now all the mainstream stuff is coming out about him.
Yeah, and he was walking in and out. This guy had the run of the place over there, of the palace, and really
notorious character.
Yeah, he lived in a van. Did you know that?
What was he? The Top of the Pops? What was that? Was that his thing?
Yeah, Top of the Pops, was his big thing he started out with. But then it was Jimmy Can Fix It, where he did this thing where people make wishes. Hey, I need to have a problem.
Yeah.
But he lived. Did you watch that movie, that documentary?
It was like an old like a trailer or something, like an RV trailer type of thing.
Yeah.
It was junky. It was really garbagey.
And the places where he would park, there were girls missing and all kind of stuff like that. There was it's just unbelievable.
And for his age, he was in good shape because he was always exercising and running. So
Yeah.
he had strong hands. You could see his hands. He had, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fascinating.
He must have been pretty bad because if they're openly admitting, they're openly admitting, there's headlines and mainstream stuff about him being connected to, Satanism and things and running, satanic rings. I think I saw it in it wasn't entertainment, but one of those, real mainstream magazines. And they're talking about it. So he must have been pretty bad.
Well, wait a second. The guy had some kind of privileges at this mental hospital where he had an apartment there, and he was scheduling the patient's schedule, and he was in there too with this serial killer, Sutcliffe, and he arranged a meeting with Sutcliffe, this well-known serial killer, a famous serial killer, with that boxer. One of the boxing champions, I forget his name, and then where they shook hands and stuff like that, and it was all on, and he's sitting there with his arms crossed, staring at the camera. He had a photographer there, setting up this whole thing. It was having sex with dead bodies, it just unbelievable. What
this sounds like par for the course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, Ann brought up something about Nicole Kidman. I know that her father supposedly died. I just didn't want that to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, her father just died too, and he escaped. I think it was Australia under pedophile charges, and went to Singapore or something, one of those countries like that. Where he was hiding out, and then he died over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why am I not shocked?
Yeah. Right.
It seems like, can you find anyone that's decent and moral and upstanding in the Hollywood circles?
Yeah, or the government circles.
Yeah. I mean, the government circles, it makes sense because, that way, they're compromised. So, you have this leverage. Excuse me. You have this leverage over them. But when it comes to Hollywood, and I think this is important too, because, let's say I'm just picking on Michael Jackson, for instance, they'd show concert footage of him just standing. And people would cheer, and he'd make just the slightest movement, and everyone would hang on every movement that he made. So when it comes to celebrities, the reason why they're always embroiled in these kinds of things and why they could be compromised as well, or why it behooves them to compromise them, is because they wield so much popular opinions. They things that they do have so much influence worldwide. And if they have dirt on them, if Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt say, we're not going to get married until all people can get married, they can shape and form the political discourse. So they have a lot more power than a lot of these politicians that people have gotten fed up with.
Yeah, but you want to know what, though, man? The way that the PR system works and stuff like that it doesn't matter. Because there's a lot of big celebrities out there that are saying things that don't get put out in the press anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what Michael Jackson came to my mind when you mentioned that was, I can remember when Oprah Winfrey did a special about Michael Jackson. This is way before all the big allegations came out. And Michael Jackson had a movie theater over there at Neverland, and in the middle of this movie theater was a bed, And yeah. And she says, oh, well, why is there that bed there? He goes, oh, well, some of the little children I bring in here, they have cancer and they can't sit in the chairs. They're going to sit. You can't find that clip now. It's gone.
Well, to show you how, to illustrate the point.
Yeah.
I saw on someone's, it was either YouTube or something, and they made a video, that bashed Michael Jackson, and the guy got death threatened, and they said, how dare you? I'm going to flag your thing, and you should be sued for libel, take that down immediately, because people, they project onto these celebrities, all kinds of things, or these attributes to them, and they deify them, and they think that they're perfect. Now, a lot of them were abused and, thrown into, what's his name? Corey Feldman was acting before I think he could talk. He did that commercial where he was running out to the Christmas tree and, he's like 2.
That was a McDonald's commercial.
Or McDonald's, it was a McDonald's commercial. And, it's like, a lot of them were literally, against, he didn't know, he wasn't signing contracts at that age saying he wanted to do that for a living. And I'm not defending him in later life of what decisions he makes now, but, it seems like, some of them, some of the things that happened to them when they were younger were beyond their control.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael Jackson, I'm sure it was one of them, that there's been all kinds of stories, that they were kind of passed around like hors d'oeuvres, for businessmen and things.
Did you see there was a guy on Larry King who was a burn victim that a lot of people say that was Michael Jackson in makeup after he died, that he faked his death? But he did sound like Michael Jackson. He had the same eyes. You know what I'm talking about? Did you guys see that? There was a guy.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
He was completely burnt. His whole body was burnt, right? But his voice was Michael Jackson's. And
but wait a second. But Michael Jackson's voice wasn't his voice, because other people have talked to Michael Jackson and said the voice we heard on TV wasn't his voice, that he had a regular voice when he talked to people.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I've heard that. Yeah, it's kind of like Gilbert Gottfried you wouldn't recognize Gilbert Gottfried's voice.
Yeah.
Because he's, right. He talks like this. He goes, hello, okay, well, he kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do, he's not yelling.
Turn it on.
Yeah.
You need to. And it's interesting, too, the ones that get into the method acting where they stay in character, on and off. Now, they justify it by saying something like, I'll give a example because I was reading it in Time Magazine about Daniel Day-Lewis was doing Lincoln, that movie.
Yeah.
And no one knew how Lincoln sounded because there was obviously no audio of it. And, he's got a regular British accent. So in his case, the reason why he may have been staying in character off, in between takes, he would say, because it would throw off that voice. He'd forget how to find the same, voice if someone started speaking to him normally. So they use that sort of as an excuse. But some of the method acting that they do, it sort of has some of the hallmarks of, the alter personalities type, that whole realm.
Well, there's a really interesting YouTube video about Jodie Foster, where she's talking over and over and over again about how acting is magical. It's magical. It's magical. And how and a lot of actors talk about how like a spirit comes over them, when they're doing their method acting and stuff like that. Demon possession.
Right. Jodie Foster, David Duchovny, there's what she calls the inner circle, and she thanked them when she was accepting an award. And at one time, she was the most powerful woman in Hollywood. This was, on the cover of a magazine. And I don't know if it was because of the amount of clout that she had or the actual amount of money, but she kept thanking the circle. And there was a group that had gone to Yale that, for the women, there's a corollary to the Skull and Bones, and David Duchovny was in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Chris Carter from X-Files, Julianne Moore is part of the circle, and she reprised her role as Clarice Starling in the second Silence of the Lambs, the Hannibal one.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and then you start to see the connection. See, the thing is, if people saw who wrote, you never see the writers. You always see the celebrities. So you can sort of make connections with them, but you never see who write the different movies and stuff. If you saw, the behind the scenes people as often connected with the people in front of the camera, then it would be a lot more clear in how small these certain groups are. And how they link up.
And so Chris Carter and David Duchovny, they did the X-Files together.
Right, and it was and Chris Carter supposedly had to twist his arm to come and do it. And you should see what Duchovny wrote his thesis in. It was all the people that he quoted. There's an old Inside the Actors Studio, and he starts to talk about all of the. Now, if I had gone to Yale and studied the authors that he studied, if it was my family that had paid for it, I would have asked for the money back for the tuition. Because the people that he studied were these like hack, straight up Satanist, crazy writers, and he wrote his thesis on magic and technology. And it was just all hardcore occult. Anybody that knows this stuff, behind the scenes, the people in the audience, of course, because it's the Actors Studio and they have all the kids, in the audience listening, they're all laughing because it's going right over their heads. But when you start to see the author's books that he's talking about, all of it is like, Crowley type stuff. And
what did David Duchovny have to go to rehab for? Sex addiction.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too that Jodie Foster, she got her start on Courtship of Eddie's Father, and the producer of that show was, I think, David Womack or James Womack.
Yeah.
They got Womack. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he was also the producer of Welcome Back, Kotter.
Right.
And I've been trying to, listen, I've been working on that thing a long time with the whole thing with the Process Church and Roy Raid and stuff. And the girl who came out in the news was Melanie Holler, who was one of the sweat hogs that wound up at Roy Radin's mansion, the castle over there in Long Island in the Hamptons, and she was beaten and raped and attacked and stuff like that and drugged and then dropped off the train station. So I was always trying to make this connection. How did Melanie Holler wind up there at Roy Radin's house?
Right.
You got to look into this guy James Womack.
You know what he did?
Go ahead.
To Gabe Kaplan.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why. Oh, well, Gabe Kaplan was the star that the show, what was it?
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Okay.
There's a ton of shit by that show, by the way.
The wife on that
John
show,
Travolta.
the actress, what he would do is he'd tell Gabe Kaplan, hey, you know what? She's got issues with you. She doesn't like you. And then he would go to her and say the same thing. Hey, Gabe doesn't like you. Basically he was playing them off one another, and they each, in the first season, they hated each other, but they didn't say why. Because what he was doing was fomenting this. You know what I mean? No,
there was more to that than that. Okay, I know Ron Palillo, who was Horseshack, is dead now. Okay, but he was he's a Facebook friend of mine, and we talked about all this stuff like that. Okay, now he had no problem talking about James Womack. James Womack, I think it's James Womack.
And did he find Travolta, James Womack?
I don't know about that, but he told me that Travolta was bisexual.
Yeah, he admits that he is. He
was definitely gay. But when I asked Palillo about Melanie Holler, that was it. He didn't want to talk about that's it. I don't want to talk about anything with you ever again.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He would gossip about anything and everything with me until I mentioned Melanie Holler. Hey, man, what happened with that? How'd you get the job there? That's it. Shut me off like a switch.
Epstein died too. The actor who played Epstein, he's dead.
That was.
Yeah, there's a lot. We want something else really weird too. John Travolta. I saw a clip of John Travolta back in the 70s when he was just a young guy trying to become a pilot. He was flying. I don't think he had his pilot's license yet. It was either on Johnny Carson or Mike Douglas, one of those kind of shows, and he was talking about how we should be able to fly planes in lower Earth orbit. And
yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened with that?
What are you talking about? Yeah.
I can't find that clip anywhere.
I know, that's what happens. They get sucked up in the ether. You find these really good clips and then they disappear.
I saw it live, and I remember him saying, I think we was talking to Johnny Carson, and he was saying to Johnny, and he says, oh yeah, and if we flew, if we just had in the Earth outer orbit, lower outer Earth orbit, and we can get to the other side of the United States in like an hour, a half hour. We could fly from New York to California in a half hour. And Johnny Carson said, well, what about if you wanted to fly from California to New York? He says, it's the same thing, because once you're up there, the Earth travels so fast, you get there right away. And they said to him, well, what about NASA? Don't they know about this? And he goes, oh yeah, they have to know.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like in 77, 78.
Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but a lot of the commercial aircraft, they can't get up that high, right?
Of course they can. Why not?
Oh, I don't know. I think that there are.
We're flying airplanes right now from 1977 technology. The space shuttle was designed in 1977.
And the whole concept was that they would fly above the weather so it wouldn't be so turbulent.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, they don't want planes going, commercial aircraft going 60,000 an hour because the, what was that plane? The Concorde.
Yeah, it would make a sonic boom.
Well, no. I mean, it flew for years without a problem.
Yeah, suddenly they made it stop, yeah.
And then they just said, well, no more Concorde. So you wonder why. Well, what have they got up there? A lot of people think it's those blimps. They've got blimps up there now.
Oh, I see where you're going with it. You mean, there's stuff impeding it.
Yes. In other words, there are things at 60, 70,000 feet that they've got that we can't see that they don't want planes that high, so therefore the Concorde had to go.
Yeah, because my uncle used to take it all the time. And then I remember that when yeah. And it was fast. You would be able to get across it would cut the time in
from New York to London in 3 hours.
Yeah, I think that's just to say. I didn't want to be inaccurate, but I think it was. Yeah, it was about 3 hours. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hey, you know what? We're at the half hour. Let me read some ads, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go here. Because we got some new stuff going on here with Amanda over at Pacific West Bamboo, 503-839-8126, demroots at oppermail.com. She's telling me that they're getting a new line of bamboo flooring, veneers, and laminates made from Guadua bamboo, one of the world's strongest bamboos, grown and produced, manufactured in Central America using only economically and environmentally friendly practices and standards. Okay, so that's something brand new going on there with the Pacific West Bamboo. They've been serving the Portland, Oregon area for over 10 years, but they can and do ship nationwide. 503-839-8126. Mike Gray. We got him on the show tonight. Mike
Hi,
Gray.
how are you?
Hey, there you go. Mike Gray, tell us about InfinityHomePlans.com.
Oh, Mike, you're putting me on the spot here, Ed. We're a company. We do drafting and design. And we do custom homes. We sell stock plans. We do additions, and we do 3D work, 3D modeling. And if you need a house or a commercial build out, we also do commercial build outs, which are fun. Give us a call, and we could help you.
There you go. And then we have the New World Mexican Women with their beautiful book that they've written. About their husbands and their sons and their uncles and their grandfathers who have traveled to America trying to support them back in this town of Guerrero, Mexico. This Mexican state of Guerrero, Mexico. New World Mexican Women, where you can find their book on Lulu.com. You can Google them on, just Google New World Mexican Women. You can find their website. And this book is amazing. It has all these beautiful letters in it and these beautiful pictures of these beautiful women in Mexico. And also, too, the second half of the book is where they get into how to make this authentic Mexican jewelry. So it's a really fascinating book, and it's an artistic book, and I'm very impressed with it. And you can put it on your coffee table. Emailrevealer.com. Hey, do you think your spouse is cheating on you? They probably are. Of course they are. But can you imagine if they're cheating on you with an escort or a swing or a fetish, kind of fetish network website? You can trace their email address back to dating sites, escort service sites, fetish sites, swinger sites, cam sites, porn sites, even a whole separate search. We can trace them back to gambling sites, okay, if they have a gambling addiction. And you can use all that kind of evidence in court for your custody evaluation. And there you go. Those are pretty much all our sponsors. GoFundMe.com. Ed Opperman, help save my family. Please, we need your help. We need your support. We thank everybody that does support us, but we do need your support to get out of this. It's a big, giant mess. My daughter's suffering, and I'm suffering daily over the situation. So we need your help. Go help save my family by Ed Opperman, GoFundMe.com. And
I just donated just now, and it only takes less than not even 5 minutes.
If you're sharp, it takes like even less than 5 minutes. If you're Christian Wallace, it takes a little over 5 minutes. Okay, thank you, Chris.
Type with 2 fingers.
God bless you, my friend. Thank you very much. I appreciate all my guests and all your support. And we said we would take calls too. So Cindy, if there's somebody in the chat room that wants to Skype in, they can Skype in at ed.opperman.com. If they want to call in, we'll make an exception tonight. We'll take a call, which is 702-605-4894. But we're going to be changing that in the near future, where we're going to have a whole new setup where people can call in and stuff like that. Okay.
And Ed, also remind the people to GoFund also that lady with the 4 kids.
Yeah, good old Jessica Styron Jacobson. And her GoFundMe is, I should have it up here. I don't have it at the moment. My printer is calling me. Okay. Jessica Styron is a really cool chick and a really good friend of mine and has 4 beautiful kids. Jessica Styron Jacobson. And what we'll do is remind me, and as I pull this up, we'll mention her link when I get it pulled up. But she has a GoFundMe.com too as well, and really deserves the money and the help.
I donated a little bit, so not much, but it was,
Well, it was a good percentage of what she got there. So, and she really needs every penny, man. It's it's one of those situations where here's a woman who is a great mother of 4 kids, is really struggling and needs your help. And, thank God we have people out there who can, listen to the show and help people, like this who need help. So, it's 8:34.
Was the actor who played Horseshack, was he gay?
Yeah.
Kind of figured.
Yeah, he's gay, and he's dead now. He died.
And also, if you look at Hollywood, this is another thing, too, why people get confused. They are all swingers. They're all swingers, and they're all bi. Like, it's really hard. Like, a lot of times they'll see John Travolta with Kelly Preston. You'll say, yeah, but there's all these gay rumors about them. Yes, they have beards, but also when it comes to Hollywood, and they make jokes about this in movies, too. If you try to look at it through you can't look at it through regular, eyes, because, most people aren't swingers, or at least that seems to me, in my experience, not to be the norm. But a lot of them are swingers. There's a whole list where you can find out a lot of them have herpes. Robin Williams was actually sued for giving a woman herpes in court. He settled, I think, out of court. And well,
one second. Robin Williams was there when John Belushi got the overdose.
That's right. Yeah.
John Belushi was there at the Marmont Hotel with Robert De Niro.
I saw a reporter once out of the blue, like he was doing an interview, and the reporter asked him that, and you should have saw the look when he asked him that. It was out of the blue, you should have seen Robin Williams' face, like,
oh yeah,
the white rant, like you know what I mean? Because he was smiling, and then all of a sudden the reporter asked him that, and he,
Wait, what was? Rewind for a second. How did it happen?
Okay, Robin Williams was giving an interview, okay, and he was just sitting down. I think it was like an ET interview, and then someone said, a reporter asked them, "Oh, and you were partying that night, or you were there the night John Belushi died?" And man, that was like out of the blue. You know what I mean? That question, it was awful. Yeah, the reporter blindsided him with that. Not to say that he did anything, but that, because the way they made it sound like he was palling around with Robert De Niro and Robert Williams, and then, he went back to his room. They left. Hours later, he decided to get high. But Ed, you're saying that he was there when he did it?
Oh yeah. At the time, the whole thing going around was that De Niro was telling Belushi, you can't act in a scene that you're on heroin unless you've really tried heroin and really done it. Okay, all that kind of stuff.
Method acting I was talking about.
Yeah,
and Belushi was just a cokehead, right? He never did heroin because he was afraid of needles. Did you know that? I
don't know about that because I know people. We haven't talked about it in years, but I know people who met Belushi in clubs in New York City back around that same time too. The Belushi was in a lot of places.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
You met Belushi?
No. My cousin was in the same, and he jumped out at him, and it was he had his hair in the top knot. He was kind of like I don't know if it was after Saturday Night Live, and he was doing the samurai thing, and he kind of jumped back, and he thought he was gonna, and he said, no, I'm a fan, and he like shook hands with him, and then he said, okay, come inside with me, and then he hung out, and yeah, he wasn't a stranger to certain.
Yeah, Belushi was in the club scene in New York City in the 70s, until he died.
I'm not saying he was shooting dope like in front of people.
You know who Dave Thomas is?
Yeah.
Judy Pisano Belushi wrote a book, and she had all the people that John Belushi knew tell stories or write stories in her book about John, their experiences with John. And Dave Thomas, who used to be on SCTV,
Second City,
said that.
Dave
huh?
Thomas? Second
What?
City, Dave Thomas?
Yeah.
Dave Thomas, Second City, right. He said that they would start off bar hopping, like at a nice bar, or a nightclub, and they liked to bar hop. But what John liked to do is, as the evening went on, he would pick out more and more seedy bars.
Yeah.
To the point where Dave actually was like, hey, I got to get out of here because I don't feel safe. Like as the night progressed, he would go to the darker, the bars that were dangerous, And what was funny is when they were making the movie Neighbors, they had a hard time with the director. I think his name was John Avildsen.
Right.
And Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi didn't get along at all with this director. And John Belushi was actually looking into having him killed or hiring a hitman.
I heard about that. Yes,
but,
you're right.
And not that he would do it, but he said, man, he goes, you could actually for the price of a hitman, it's like buying a used car. Like $5,000 to whack somebody.
Yep. I remember that story. I remember hearing it say it. Mm-hmm.
But John Belushi, yeah.
Well, it's interesting that Bob Woodward wrote and Bob Woodward and his whole whitewash life, and he wrote the book trashing John Belushi.
Wired, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
Is it true? Is it true that because in the movie, they said they couldn't fit John's body in the cargo hold, so they had to put him in a trash bag and put him in the seat on the plane? Is that true?
No,
because that's in the movie.
What movie?
In the movie Wired, yeah.
I never saw that movie.
If you watch the movie, I don't know if it's in the book. They couldn't fit his body in the cargo plane of the private jet.
Okay, real quick, we're getting a question from the chat room asking, Ed, did you grow up around the movie Cropsey on Staten Island? Okay, I got a whole bunch of stuff I can talk about that. Okay, I saw the movie Cropsey. Okay. And Andre Rand, that guy, I was very familiar with that whole situation. Sorry. Here's what I can tell you. De Grimson, the head of the Process Church, lived in Staten Island. He still lives in Staten Island, okay? So around that whole time, when all that Cropsey stuff was going on with Andre Rand, when he was kidnapping and killing those little kids, I know all those areas. I know all the areas about Willowbrook, and there's all kinds of underground tunnels around Willowbrook, all kinds of weird stuff going on there at Willowbrook. Forget that, because there was a whole park by Willowbrook Park, But also, too, a friend of mine who were friends with my sister and my brother-in-law lived in Bay Terrace, and they bought these condos that were brand new construction that were right up against the woods, and there was a satanic cult that had rituals right in those woods. So when the condos went there, they stayed right where they would, where you could see into my friend didn't even have curtains on their windows yet, and there was a satanic cult right outside their window doing rituals. They called the police because they saw them. This was blatant, in robes, walking around in circles, chanting, building fires, throwing animals into the fire. They called the police and reported this to the police, and you know what the cops said? Well, maybe they're having a barbecue. Okay, that's what the cops told them. Now, I tried to get this, I contacted this person since, we're still in touch on Facebook, and I tried to get her to come on the show. When I told her about everything I know about this with the Berkowitz and stuff like that, she doesn't want any part of it. So that's some information I have about that. All the Cropsey stuff, Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff with that whole Cropsey thing. Okay,
This is a movie? I never heard of it.
Oh, there's a really good movie. It's a documentary called Cropsey that gets into this guy. It's a documentary, and it gets into this guy Andre Rand, who was a homeless guy in Staten Island, who I'm pretty sure was kidnapping and murdering little kids on Staten Island. Now, yeah, around the Willowbrook area. Now, oh my God, it's so fascinating because the construction of Willowbrook, okay, which is like almost like a pentagram with underground tunnels and stuff like that, is identical to another mental institution in another state where this guy, Andre Rand, grew up and his mother worked in that mental institution and he hung around the underground tunnels over there. Then he became homeless, lived on, you gotta watch this doc. I'm gonna have the documentary guys on the show. That's one of the shows we want to do is Cropsey.
I'll watch it, yeah.
Yeah, no, but look, Cropsey is available on, it's on Hulu. It's all over the internet. You can find it for free. You can watch it for free.
You know what's funny? Speaking as a friend of mine, I was talking to her. You know, there's a place in New York called Glen Falls, New York. You ever hear of it?
Yeah.
And she said that the town is shaped like a pentagram. Okay.
Yeah.
And she said there isn't a church there, and she said that her and her friend were driving to Niagara Falls, as you know.
Niagara Falls.
Niagara,
inch by inch. I looked around for her.
That's our Baba Booey.
And she said, as soon as she hit the town, Glen Falls, it was like she fell asleep. She was knocked out. Isn't that weird? And I Googled it. I Google mapped it. And sure enough, at the center of the town, there's a circle with the 5 roads going from that circle. And it does make a pentagram.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff like that, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's interesting. I got to watch that movie, Cropsey.
Oh, yeah, it's a good movie.
Documentary.
Yeah, the documentary of the producers and directors, they made a couple of other movies after it, but nothing compares to Cropsey.
Right.
It's really good. Yeah, and there's guys who investigated the process. There's guys that investigated Sonny and Sam that are in that documentary, and they're just laughing about it, saying, "Yeah, a lot of stuff went on. Do you want to talk about it? No, we don't want to talk about it." And now I'm in this group right now, on this Facebook group, man, where I'm getting all kinds of man, I'm seeing stuff you would not believe. I'm seeing letters from John Carr, with Son of Sam, with John Carr and the Weed Carr and all these people. I'm seeing letters that they sent to the police department to get a carry permit. I'm seeing real.
You know, let me ask you about that. Now, the last guest you had on, I can't remember who it was, when you asked about the Son of Sam, and did he do it alone?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, he thought
Steve Wicks.
Yeah, him. And I have to say, I disagree because, you know, people, there's no way Berkowitz did all those killings. Because people were describing other people's faces in the description of the murderers.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just Berkowitz. And isn't it true that whenever the police were going to a certain suspect, like the people were dying, they were murdered just before they got there?
Oh yeah. No,
it's like the Satanists, the Protestant church was like, cutting ties. You know what I mean? Like in the mafia.
There's a ton of dead bodies. There's a trail of dead bodies. And what you gotta understand is that when Maury Terry was writing the first book, this was going on while he was writing the book. He'd be writing about this, and suddenly he'd get a phone call saying, "They just killed John Carr." This was going on in real time for him.
And wasn't the rumor that I had heard this? I don't know if it's true that Mapplethorpe was in a van, with a camera filming one of the hits.
No, Mapplethorpe had control over one of the snuff films, and he sent guys to another guy's house and killed him to get that film back. Mapplethorpe was an art dealer that was trading back and forth in these snuff films. And he sent some guys to kill a guy to get the film back. Mapplethorpe was living with Patty Smythe. Did you know that?
No, didn't she die? She died recently.
I don't know if she died or not, but he was living with her. He was 100% gay, But these two are living together in some kind of relationship. Who knows what was going on? But there's a whole lot of stuff. It's unbelievable. But the thing is that the DA at the time was also involved in this pedophile ring, so they had the guts on him.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, Berkowitz made a lot of admissions from, prison, saying how it was a, well-connected group, and he said it wasn't, it was doctors and lawyers and,
Doctors and lawyers were connected to the Lisa Steinberg case, and I'm in touch with people that have been visiting Berkowitz in prison for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's clammed up though, hasn't he?
No. There's certain things he won't talk about, but now that his father is dead, he's willing to talk about more stuff. But what the speculation is that Berkowitz did something. One of the initiations to get into this cult was you had to drink the cult leader's urine. Okay? But the theory is that there were other initiations that Berkowitz doesn't want people to know that he did. Okay? Right. That's why he can't come out. But all this stuff, man, and there's no way it can all be wrong. You heard my guest, Jim Rothstein, talk about Undermeyer Park, where all these animal sacrifices were going on with Berkowitz and his cult. The cult was called the Children. Okay, this guy's, the Berkowitz group. That park, to begin with, was created. There's all kinds of occult crap going on in that park, but the creation of that park is an occult park. The stones in that park, some of them are huge stones, were all imported from England. And there's all kinds of stuff in there. There was a place that they called Satan's tomb or something like that. There's no way anybody who's ever been to Undermeyer Park cannot say that this was an occult location. Okay? And one of the guests, guys I'm in touch with right now, I want to have on as a guest, maybe next week, I don't know, the next week's open, is a guy who grew up in that neighborhood, who knew all this stuff was going on, confronted these Protestant church guys, like as a street kind of tough guy, and actually used to sit in the churches there, because these guys were going into the churches and desecrating the churches. And this guy and his friends would hang out in the churches and protect the churches overnight.
Oh, amazing.
We're tapped into some stuff, man. We're tapped into some stuff that is not published anywhere,
Well, one of the victims said that she somehow escaped. She said when they brought her down into like this cave, or it was like a big room, but it was underground. When she pulled her mask off, she saw all these people that were in like these masks, these animal masks, and they had robes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she said there was a lot of people. It wasn't just like a few. So yeah, kind of like an Eyes Wide Shut party with all those bizarre masks.
Mm-hmm.
And that unnerves you when you see people in masks like that. When you can't see someone's face,
mm-hmm.
It's worse. Because your imagination kind of runs away with you.
And plus, the person behind the mask, has a certain, more bravery as well too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the whole reason.
Yeah. Well,
I'll tell you a positive celebrity that I remember I was asking, are there any that are sort of decent? And you asked if I met John Belushi. I did meet his brother.
Okay.
And he was a nice guy. And he wouldn't take autographs or anything. But he was really funny. And he talked to me for probably like an hour. And it was so funny because I had walked out of a movie, and I probably only walked out of like 2 movies in my entire life. And I had walked out of a movie, and there was a bookstore that, was right next to the theater at the time. And when I walked out, I had to kill some time waiting for who was still inside. And I went into the bookstore, and he was by himself, just, reading a book, sitting in a chair by the window. So I walk in, and, I started talking to him, and he was going along it was like the aisle for like books on like, health and sex and things. And he was just picking out different titles and like, making jokes and things. And he was really nice, really cool, down to earth, very genuine. But I didn't want to get into, his brother or anything that was, just wasn't the time or place. But he was really, really cool. And the only thing that he didn't want to do was when people started to notice him, he then said, okay, let me sort of, he gradually started to make his way towards the exit, and then the movie let out, and all the people came stampeding out. And what I thought was so cool about it was how he just sort of blended in with the crowd, and he sort of, picked up the pace of how he was walking, and he kind of zigzagged in and out of the people, so that no one, if they did recognize him, he wouldn't get stuck. And, I just always remember that. And cause I've bumped into so many different people that were, pretty rude, and you come up as a fan and you tell them how much you appreciate, their work and whatever, whether it's an athlete or a movie. And sometimes they're just total snobs. And, he wasn't like that at all. He was really, really genuinely nice. So, I don't know if Jim Belushi was into sort of the same stuff as his brother, but he didn't appear to be. He seemed very healthy, and he had the bluest eyes. You could see him from across the room. And it's funny because when you see him on TV or in a movie, you can't even tell what color they are. But when you see him in person, it's like it jumps out at you. But he was really genuinely nice, and it was neat how he did that. How he kind of wove into the crowd and sort of just blended in and disappeared. And I don't think anybody even noticed that he was there. But he talked to me for like a good hour, and just BSing and being real funny and nice, and he didn't have to be. I was a little bit upset afterwards that he didn't sign the autograph, but it was fun to to chit chat with him.
Yeah, he's done a few good movies.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype on him, to live up to his brother. The potential. They thought he would be like the second, Virgin. And I think what happened was that nobody was like John Belushi, and they placed a lot of expectations on him that he didn't maybe live up to.
Yeah, John was a one of a kind. I mean,
right.
There will never be another John Belushi, that's for sure.
Right. But
really, Dan Aykroyd was kind of lost without him because.
Well, yeah, the Blues Brothers, they have statues to them in, I think it's Chicago. There's actually a Blues Brothers, statue. And then they did that awful second one.
It didn't happen. Just ignore it. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Kind of like Godfather 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
Doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen.
But there's a certain it's funny because when you bump into celebrities, you think that they're as excited as you are, and they're just regular people, and some of them are really shy. They kind of turn it on for the cameras. So when you bump into them, a lot of my friends live in LA, and they run into celebrities all the time. And Jack Black came up and sat down next to my friend, and they were eating, and he took a picture with his phone with him, and he looked so tired, and he said to me, because he's not into so much of this conspiracy stuff, but he was so depressed, and he just looked terrible, and you can see it in the picture. And I was like, God knows, what he was. Now he walked in, and this was in the morning, and he ordered like a sundae for breakfast, and he sat down, and he was in disheveled clothes, and he was by himself, and he wasn't talking, and he wasn't that extroverted, personality, that he turns on when he's in front of the camera. He was just like, had this hangdog look on his face, and even in the picture where he's kind of trying to force a smile, it was like, you could see it was really forced.
Well, he's a West Memphis 3 supporter.
I know.
Hung out with,
I was going to mention that. I was going to say.
Hung out with Eccles, yeah.
Well, is he a Satanist? Because he does Hail Satan, like he'll say, like on MTV.
Big time, yeah.
I would assume he is, yeah.
He's overtly into it.
Yeah.
In the Tenacious D movie, The Pick of Destiny, the pick is Satan's tooth. And, they stand inside of the pentagram that they draw with the ketchup, and they make little jokes towards it. And they have, the all-seeing eye stuff on the neck of the guitar. And, it's just thrown in there.
But I mean, is he doing it for fun, or is he really?
I would think he really is if he's hanging out with Eccles.
Yeah. And what's funny is that Peter Jackson, I liked the Lord of the Rings, and I liked the the way that they did the movie and everything. And that's actually, Tolkien was a Catholic, and he converted C.S. Lewis to Christianity. That is a Christian book. I mean, that's what it is. A lot of people think it's occultic. It's not. It's actually like a Christian allegory, but instead of a 1-to-1, they divide the character into three, like the king, the wizard, and the hobbit. There are three aspects of Christ, and it's funny that the guy that writes it is this West Memphis 3, that adapts it for the screen.
Yeah,
it's West Memphis 3 Satanist, but a lot of them know Christianity better than a lot of Christians do, which is a sad, just fact. They know.
Are you sure Peter's? I don't know. I mean,
Jackson.
Yeah, you think he is a Satanist, really?
Oh yeah, man.
Huge supporter. I mean, he was like the biggest.
He gave like $11 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then had him come over to his house and wanted to give him a part in the new films.
Hey, why doesn't he let that guy babysit his kid when he goes out?
That's exactly what I said. Right? I said the same thing.
Hey, we're coming up to the end of the show. You guys want to do another hour or what?
I could do it if you want to.
Okay, so
I'm just curious about the behind-the-scenes goings on.
Okay, so let's take a little break here. We're at the Oh man, I forgot. You know what? We got a new sponsor. Audible.com. I forgot all about it. Let's see. Okay, we can't do it tonight. Okay, but audible.com / okay, let's send to get some rest. Audible.com / Opperman Report. Okay, if you go to audible.com and / Opperman Report, the link will be up on my blog and my website and my Facebook page. You can get a free audible.com book. Okay, and we'll get a commission for it, so if you can support them. We're supposed to do it at the beginning of the show and at the end of the show. I forgot all about it because I was a little nervous tonight. But okay, we're going to take a break. If Cindy's still alive and awake, we'll take a little musical break. You want to take a little, give us a little music, Cindy? And we're going to say goodnight.
Say goodnight to who?
Well, say goodnight to say goodnight to Hollywood.
Oh, is the show over?
Yeah, the show's pretty much over. Yeah, we're gonna say goodnight. The show's over. We'll see you guys next week, and and we'll have a little after show chat. So,
okay.
So Cindy, do you want to drop the server? Drop the live broadcast, or? Okay. Good night, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for Cindy Jean-Pierre.